Alright, hello. This video is all about the setup of Notability and how to make the most of its organizational screen settings. So I'm going to go ahead and launch Notability. It is on my dock. And now you get to this main organizational screen. You can see on the left-hand side of the window, you have my dividers on my subjects. And then in the main part of the screen, you have the notes for the subject I have highlighted. The top menu bar, alright, the edit function, I'll tap that. The edit function allows me to access the settings for individual subjects. It allows me to change the name of things, allows me to change the order of things, and all of that. I can delete things from there. You see the trash icon, or I can add to them. Next, I have my share. That arrow icon says select notes for sharing. I can share it directly from this screen, or I can share within my notes as well. And then my plus icon, when I tap my plus icon, I can create a new divider or create a new subject. For us as teachers, we're going to be worried about creating subjects. Dividers really are not going to affect us in individual subjects, but you'd want to create a subject for your class and then subdivide the notes accordingly. Right? Then over on the right-hand side of the screen at the top, you have the search function, the magnifying glass. I can search for a word or phrase. That will search the titles of notes. It will also search any typing within the notes. It doesn't search the handwriting, but it'll search any typing within the note. I have import. All right, I can import a document, a note, a PDF, a Word document, an Excel document, a PowerPoint document directly into my Notability. And I can do so from what you see there, Dropbox, Google Drive, Box, or WebDAV. We'll see how to do that from other apps in a little while. And then my blue icon will create a new note for me. Let me back out of that. All right. The one thing I wanted to talk about in terms of setting up Notability is the gear icon located in the lower left corner. I'll tap the gear icon. You can see I have a bunch of options on the left-hand side. First and foremost, auto backup. Since we are using Google Apps for Education and we all have Google Drive accounts, it's a very good idea for you to back up your Notability work to Google Drive. This way, anything you do in Notability is saved each time you're working in Notability to a folder in Google Drive. Let me show you how that works. I'll tap the gear icon in there. You'll notice it says Google Drive Settings, destination folder, /Notability /, which means that on your Google Drive, if you scroll through your folders in Drive, there is a folder called Notability. You didn't create it, Notability did. And what Notability has done is it has backed up your work once you've selected Auto Backup in PDF format I have here, and then you see it backs up these subjects. You see the check marks. That means that each of the subjects I've created in Notability has a subfolder, and then in that subfolder are my notes. Now, we can look at file format here. You have these options. You can back up your Notability as PDFs, as RTF files. That will back up only typing. It will not back up handwriting. The note format, which will back up any handwriting, any typing, and any audio recording. PDF and recording, RTF and recording. Now, the one thing I'd say to look for here is if you ever want to access your Notability work on a computer. If you ever do anything in Notability that you'd like to view on a desktop or a laptop, a Mac, a PC, it doesn't matter what, note format is great, but note format only works in Notability, and Notability is only a mobile app. So if you want to view your work on a computer, choose PDF. The downside to PDF is that you can't bring it into another Notability and erase what you've already done and do all the note features. PDFs are sort of locked. You could further mark it up, but the downside to Note is that although it has all the cool features of Notability built into it, is it can't be viewed on a computer. So if you ever intend on viewing your work in Notability on a computer, back up as PDF. If you don't ever intend on doing that, and if you have an iPhone with Notability, or you have another iPad or some other mobile device you want to work, then maybe Note format is for you. I like to do it in PDF because I do like to once in a while pull up something I'm doing in Notability on my computer. So that's how I have my Google Drive backup. Going down the settings, you can see manage accounts. We don't need to worry too much about that. I am logged into my Google Drive. That'll let me pull files in from Drive, and it'll let me export to Google Drive. iCloud, I haven't activated for this. You can. If you have more than one mobile device, like if you have an iPhone or another iPad, maybe this is something you want to do. Themes, this is how Notability will look. I'm using the clean theme, as you can see here. And if you scroll through, you can see there's a couple of different looks. This is really just, aesthetics, not too important. Document. All right, now your document settings include the default title for a note. In other words, all notes when you start them are called note, and you can tap up on the top and rename it. You can choose to include the date or include the time. And then the default note paper. Now my default note paper is, you see two things are highlighted with blue borders around them. I have a plain white paper, right to here. I could change it to like a cream color. I could change it to this yellow color. I could change it to a lavender. I could change it to a green, so on and so forth. I've been plain white. And then I also have down at the very bottom left, I have the small grid. Rather than a blank page, rather than a lined page, I like the grid. I like to have vertical and horizontal lines. That's me personally. You could choose whatever you want, and here's your default. You can change an individual sheet within the note, but whenever you open up a new note or you add a page to a note, it'll give you what is deemed your default, and you choose that default here. Right? Typing. I have my default typing text be in Hoefler 12-point font, black type. You can change your default here. You can see there's colors. I can scroll through and see more colors, right? And I can go up or down in font size. I can do bold, italic, underlining. I can change my font. If I tap, you'll see I have some fonts to work with. I can even go and get more fonts, right? And then I can put a spell check or tap anywhere. Tap anywhere is good because it'll put you to the beginning of the line, but you can tap anywhere on the page and bring up typing. My handwriting settings, right? I am left-handed, so I have left-handed mode on. The difference between left and right-handed mode is simply where the palm rest is. And the palm rest is something I'll get into in another video. The palm rest lets you cancel a certain area of the screen. In other words, you can actually put your hand on the screen when you write, and it won't mess up your writing. It won't think you're writing there. It sort of makes a dead space on the screen for you to rest your hand when you write. When you're in left-handed mode, that dead space is at the top, and when you're in right-handed mode, that dead space is at the bottom. That's the only difference. They also put the tool palette in different areas, but otherwise it works exactly the same. Tap and hold. When you're writing on a page, you might want to write in a normal size for you, but you want to fit a good amount of stuff on the page. And you might find that when you're writing in Notability, your writing looks enormous. If you do tap and hold, or you do the zoom mode, you can actually write a very normal size, and it'll get shrunk down to what would be a normal line of writing. And you can actually write and fill a Notability page with what would normally be, say, a loose leaf sheet. So tap and hold will work to bring up the zoom tool and will let you handwrite. That'll be examined in another video as well. Last thing, iOS sleep timer. When you're in Notability, you can choose to keep the iPad awake at all times. And if you think about if you're in a class and you're taking notes, maybe you stop taking notes because the teacher is going to something else, and for 5 or 10 minutes you make no marks on your iPad whatsoever. Normally the iPad would go to sleep then. But then all of a sudden, the teacher says something and you want to get it down immediately. It would be a real pain to have to wake up your iPad, slide to unlock it, enter in your passcode, and then get back to Notability, and maybe you've lost the thought. So you can choose to keep the iPad awake. The downside of that is obviously you drain the battery. So use that with caution. So that is the setup functions of Notability, and I hope that helps you understand the app a little better. In other videos, we will get into all the different tools and some more advanced features.